Hi, welcome everybody. Welcome to yet another series of Foreground Forum. This one being one of the very different ones that we have had a conversation about mental health as a wider topic. But of course, the deeper topic within is looking at how our childhood controls our adulthood. I'm getting straight into the topic because this is very different from what our regular audience has been used to. The context of doing something like this is because our favorite project Malhaar is right now around the corner, and mental health or health in general has been one of the themes. When we were putting out the themes, or we were thinking about what would the themes of Malhar be, um, health and especially mental health was not something that I particularly was very sure of, because the kind of narratives that could come in might not have been very user friendly, something that a person wants to go to cinema for. It could have been very serious, very boring, not something that one would want to buy a ticket to go for. But then we decided to keep it because it's a topic that we can't deny, isn't it? It's not a topic that we can say that is alien to us and that we aren't we aren't really thinking about it day in and out. And so when it is such an important topic, it does not make sense to keep Malhar or Match My Talent out of it, because that's who we are. We like to talk about everything that matters to our immediate community. And so we did that. And guess what? Out of all the submissions, we had hundreds of films from all over the country on health, and most of them particularly being on mental health. Thank goodness we included that. We would have missed out on so many experiences if we had not included it. And then now we've been through a lot of shortlisting process, and there are at least 50 films that are staring my screen as I talk as beautiful narratives, beautiful stories. The reason I call them beautiful is because of the kind of dimension of our own lives that they have pulled out on. Most of it is something that I can relate to. And I'm sure when, as an audience, you would watch them at Malhar, a piece of your heart will go to them as much. So, this forum, the talk today, is with experts. They're not the filmmakers, they're not the storytellers, they're not the ones who have thought of it as a story to tell. But these experts live in, day in and out, making a difference to people who want to improve the health of their mind, the health of their conscious, the health of their happiness status. These are the people who wake up probably listening to people who are not happy enough and then making it sure that it gets better for them. They must have had some very strong reasons to dedicate their lives to it, isn't it? Not very easy for all of us to do that. And that's exactly what I'm very curious to know about. More than that, mental health has been a topic which has been alien to a lot of us. We end up saying, it's not for me, it's not about me, I don't have an issue, I am healthy enough, I don't have a mental health problem, and we disconnect ourselves from it. And because of us, because of this kind of a thought process, those who do feel that they need support also step back. That's not a very great system to be in. We got to be inclusive, we got to be self aware. And awareness, the best time for an awareness isn't it when we're not in a crisis? Because when we are in a crisis, it's a crisis. Anyways, you can't really action too much. And so this is the time that I really want to invite all of you from the Foreground Forum community, Malhar community, Match My Talent community, or just from wherever you are sitting right now, to let go, to just let go of whatever you may know about mental health, about the impact of childhood on adulthood. And let's just hear them out. Let's just have a conversation. The window here would be open for you to send in your questions at any point of time. We will take it up at the right moment, but we promise to take it up for sure. The number will be flashing here. You could send us a WhatsApp on that number or just message us from wherever you are looking at it, from any of the platforms. All right. So the speakers today. Well, we have Jaspreet Bhatia. She's a neuropsychology coach and a practitioner, a young person who has dedicated last 15 years of her life to this practice. Why she's done that? Why does she talk to so many people day in and out? And how does she maintain her own mental health in the realm of this is something that we're going to talk about. And Gurrit Sethi, very young person. She has not just been coaching, but she has committed herself to creating a complete ecosystem on mental health called Mind My Mind. A complete ecosystem on mental health? Is the space that big? Do we really need so much of support? Well, she must have done her research to come up with that. And again, like I said, let's hear them out from point zero. So allow me to welcome Jas and Gurrit right here on the screen, and let's begin a conversation that we all have been really waiting for. Jas and Gurrit, welcome to Foreground Forum. Hi, Jas. Hi, Gurrit.
Glad to be here. Thanks.
I can't hear you. Hi. Great,
Hi,
great. No,
thank you so much. This was absolutely
Hi, having
captivating to hear
us here.
thank you. Thank you. There is a little bit of a lag between all of us, but please bear with us. I think as we get gradually into the conversation, it will all make sense because it's all about our lives. There is not much special to really ponder over each word. Even if we miss a few words because of the lag, it's okay. We will figure out the whole conversation. If you want us to repeat any part of it just because of a technical glitch or because you just missed it, just ask us. We will repeat the whole thing down. All right. So, Jess and Gurreet, really, thank you very, very much. I know how you both have sessions back to back, and your sessions are about real people and their real situations. So I can imagine how difficult it is for you to take out like an hour, hour and a half to talk about something in general. Really thankful for you for doing this.
Well, I am thankful to you. We are thankful to you as a team because more people know about it, more they will be equipped to handle it. It's and what's better than the medium of films? That's something that connects all of us. So very happy to be here.
Awesome.
Likewise.
Great. So thank you. So let's know a little bit more about you. I mean, of course, who are you? What do you do? Where you come from?
I am basically a management graduate, so I have a typical left brain activity that goes on at all the time. So I'm still very structured in my approach. But the early on experience in a corporate, which was absolutely amazing and gave me the exposure that I wanted, I also begun to see the dissatisfaction that is available ever present in a glamorous world.
Hmm.
And I thought if that is the case everywhere else. And I decided to retire at 24 because I didn't want to have gray hair soon. And I thought, let me just enjoy golf right now. Why get to 40 and enjoy golf? Let's do that right now. And I think that was the genesis of mental health because when I could not cope up with what was happening in the corporate, in the MNC, I thought there is definitely something either wrong with me or with the system. I got to find that out, and I'm a problem solver. So let's just get there. So that's a brief about me. Corporate state trainings, and now full time into therapy. Bit of corporate training and coaching, of course, goes on. Yeah.
Wow. I'm gonna get back to you so many questions on that. But Gurreet, how about you? Where do you come from?
First, just I quite gray hair at 50. So unapologetically. So my question is that I've spent the last 20 working in healthcare. I've worked
Oh,
in different verticals. I have worked in hospitals. I have worked in retail care. I have worked in medical device and healthcare IT. So I have a roundabout experience across different types. Uh, I actually out on my own form of Mind My Mind, which I intend to create as a complete 360-degree ecosystem, something that I know in the country today.
no, none whatsoever. I don't think so. It's even globally existing.
There are
Yeah.
many. A lot of people are
Wow.
doing a lot of good work, but
Hmm.
I think particularly available one roof is, I think, the need of the hour because I feel that mental health is an unspoken pandemic today.
So, right on that note, why is it so unspoken? What are the barriers? Why don't we talk about it? Why don't we address it? Why don't we even accept it?
Just, you want to take that?
Sure. Honestly speaking, Sonia, because I think it is alien to us. That's why. It actually is alien. When you were growing up, Gurrit, when you were growing up, did you hear the word depression? I did not. Did you hear the word trauma? No. At max, we would be upset or angry. That was our
Yeah.
prime epitome of mental health issues that we would have. So the concept is so alien to us, we cannot expect people to just accept it. It's like the change cycle, which will go through denial, resistance, or let me just see it, or it's a part and parcel of life. The appendix in the body is not a problem till the time it is about to burst.
Right.
Then only we know, oh, we have a vestigial yet an essential organ called the appendix. So mental health is alien to us. We've been brought up in an agricultural economy with community living, with grandparents, with cousins, not as cousins, but as my brothers and sisters.
Right.
We did not know that there was isolation. We did not know that there were breakups that happened. And hence, what is foreign to us is not accepted. And also because it comes with pain. A lot of other foreign concepts, anybody can debate and say, oh, you know what? The other things are very accepted. Look at the relationships. Look at the sexual ratio. That's pretty accepted. And you're telling me mental health is not. Exactly, because mental health is a pain point.
And it's personal.
It's very
Highly personal.
Yeah.
But we are opening up to it. I saw people really open up. I can really see the mark, the turning point being the pandemic. The number of people that opened up when the first lockdown happened. And I would say with the death of Sushant Singh Rajput. It is amazing how people have come out in the open and are now talking about it. That wasn't the case before March 2020. So last 2.5 years and things have shifted dramatically. Long way to go, but it's a great beginning.
I think the celebrities coming out have helped. I can relate to your question, as I look back at my experience working in healthcare, and even, of course, like just related as growing up years, there was nothing known as trauma. You never heard of psychologists or, psychiatrists for that matter, unless and until you really had a biological disorder where you had to be taken to a psychiatrist or a mental health hospital. And therefore it had. Having worked in hospitals, as I look back at my experience, we saw a lot of grief. You see, hospital is one place nobody wants to go to. You go there only when you're forced to.
Yeah.
Right. So you end up seeing a lot of grief around you. So we used to, during the hospital days, we used to try offering some kind of support to people. And I remember we even brought in an elderly gentleman who would just spend time talking to them. We had guest relations officers, the likes that you would find in hotels, to actually go around meeting all the patients to understand and ask them, if they faced any issues or is there any support that can be provided. As I look back, I feel it was very unstructured. None of us, even at that time, thought that there could be a more structured approach to it, even within a hospital. I think those are issues which have kind of not allowed us to speak up about mental health, because it did not even occur to us. The ecosystem for those kind of discussions simply wasn't there. But today, when you see the kind of social issues, there is so much of road rage, there is so much of violence, domestic violence for that matter, issues, which is again one of your key themes. I think all of these today are becoming an expression of suppression.
Hmm.
So it's not that the issues weren't there, but they were dealt with very differently and were looked at also very differently.
Very
The
true.
terminologies which we are today more acquainted with, and maybe, celebrities literally coming out of tragic incidents have forced us to stare at these things right in
Hmm.
the eye, that today we guys are opening up. And then of course for the last 2 years in the pandemic has literally taken a toll. It's
Yeah.
taken a different kind of a toll for healthcare, since I was managing a COVID hospital, and I've seen that side of the story. And it took a
Hmm.
very different kind of a storyline, or a situation on the domestic front. I remember
Hmm.
coming back from the hospital after about 5 months. When I entered my house, my father and my teenage daughter looked at me as if I was COVID personified myself. So they were
Hmm.
completely, two different aspects. But the fact is,
Yeah.
every end was affected, and therefore it is imperative for us to stand up and understand, find solutions as to how we should deal with these.
Absolutely. I mean, this reminds me of a few of the films that we have in Malhar. There are films that, even though lockdown or pandemic wasn't a focus theme that we were, but I can see in the films that are coming in that there is so much of a reflection of this post-pandemic life, that people have actually not been able to disconnect that from even their storytelling, while they're also subconsciously not trying to focus it. But like one of the films, I wouldn't name it, but one of the films is actually talking about how the pandemic sort of gave the person an access to their own thought processes, their own fears and anxieties, which the person connected it back to 15 years of their life, but said that I did not even give it a heat all this while. But now I feel that if I have lived the pandemic, I don't want to go through another pandemic to know that I stand so insecure. And if life has given me a chance to live, I want to fix it now. You know, and
True.
and the beautiful film is how he has been able to manage covering up the last 15 years, sort of reenacting it. What I wondered when I was watching that film, that how much the person had to sort of go through to recreate an experience for us. Something that must have been so personal and so deep, but managed to, because cared to share with a whole lot of strangers. And I'm sure it did some good to him, but I think in the watching of that space, it did so much of good to me. And I'm sure it's going to do to people that I know what you're saying in the last 2 years, like this, the impact of this topic and the gravity of this topic, how much it's been realized and felt. It's definitely like it's coming out in your conversation. I can see that it's coming around for us as well. So good, we are just in time. Like 2 years is not really a huge amount of time to always talk about. It's very fresh. Now, you've been there, you've been professionals in other spaces, healthcare, and you've been a corporate person. And obviously, both these spaces are very different from what you're doing right now. What are some of the key instances or stories that drew you to dedicate your life to something which is important for sure, but it's very different from what you've ever done?
True. Yes.
Okay, okay. I think I'm supposed to go first each time, so I will not waste any minute there.
Yeah.
I think two instances come to my mind.
Hmm.
There was a 65-year-old senior management guy that I was coaching. And as he began to speak, if I were to close my eyes and forget about the sound of him, the voice, it was a 5-year-old talking to me from across the table.
Wow.
The issues that typically, the ethical dilemma that generally a 5-year-old would bring to table to mama, to a teacher, is what he was saying. And at that moment in time, I went like, sorry, pardon me for the word, shit. People are suffering. That guy has held in his system for the last 41 years that he's worthless. Because when he failed in grade 9th, his father told me, "Tu to carpenter banega." He has spent the last 41 of years of his life proving to the dead father that he's not a carpenter anymore. It jolted me. And I was playing safe. I mean, I'll be honest, I'll be candid. I was playing safe being a corporate coach and a corporate trainer. I didn't have to deal with emotions. That day, I said, Lord, it's the human being. It's not the personal world or the professional world. It's that guy. And the second incident I clearly remember 10 years ago, this was before that, but the second one was this guy walks into my office, 6 feet 3 inches, well-built, bald guy, says, "You know what? I tried committing suicide 3 times. Can you imagine? I'm such a failure. I couldn't even do that successfully." I sit with him. We go back to not even the childhood, Sonia. We go back to the utero, where the problem began. You know that we are what we had for breakfast. This was not even breakfast. This was before bedtime. And then I told him, I still remember that day. I still remember that conversation. I told him it was July. I told him, "I'll see you in January." He says, "No, you won't, because I will make another attempt." And then, as promised, we met in Jan. Then I knew there was no look. I couldn't unsee. You know, once you've seen stuff, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
I just couldn't unsee the suffering. I couldn't be so selfish that because I get bothered, I will not do stuff. And I thought, well, the Almighty has chosen me as a service giver. It could have been anybody. Let me take the cookies for that. It's so gratifying to go to bed knowing that somebody's life got better,
Oh,
because I give like a drop of knowledge, which he already knew, by the way, nothing
yeah.
new, but it just comes from a different set of ear, listening to a different set of ears coming from a different person just makes the
Yeah.
difference. So those two instances really define my life, I would say.
Oh,
Very, very interesting, Jess. My
incredible.
experience of how was slightly different, because I'm not a psychologist, a consulting psychologist, who have studied psychology. Uh, of course, I already shared that in hospitals you came across so much of grief that people were trying to
Yeah.
face, and their different expressions, and their different coping mechanisms, and how time that we miserably failed as a system.
Yep. Yeah.
We used to try a lot to be able to put things in a better it could make things easier for people, but it was way deep.
Mm.
2013, the toxicology division of a company. That time there was no toxicology products available in the country other than through a few rare dealers. Sent me traveling around the country, psychiatrists across the length and breadth of India.
Mhm.
While waiting for doctors to get free from their consults, I would actually be sitting outside at distraught people, distraught parents, suffer, from substance abuse. Somebody had a sister, and then within families also, some of the close known, well-known families, I saw things, and then as to why people, to an extent that you completely lost yourself to just consuming something way,
Mm.
way deeper than
Way
just
deep. Yeah.
enjoying something.
Yeah.
That was one incident that kind of stirred my thoughts after my experience. Worked for 13 years in Fortis. On from there, when the pandemic started, I had to tell people that, look, you got to work, you got to look after COVID patients. We are going to be opening up our hospitals to COVID patients. looking at the nurses, the doctors, the technicians, the rest of the staff, fearing not for themselves. I mean, I'm sure everybody, all of us had carried that bit of fear, but fearing, what would happen to their families when after,
Mm.
taking care of patients in the hospital. Looking at how society at that time reacted to nurses and doctors who went back to their homes weren't allowed to enter. you know People who were staying in PGs were not allowed to enter, so we actually had to go back, create certain things, and looking at patients, the family members, the kith and kin around them, one of those who suffered and the separation, the patients themselves who hated, and you want somebody to hold your hand,
Yeah.
you want that touch and feel. Time, it was just completely missing. So, looking at all
Mm.
of this, I was refused because the age stand, the need for it. Thinking that, wow, here I am, dealing with all of this. I'm sure all other, chief operating officers of the hospitals went through the same this thing. But I suddenly realized that how we working in healthcare and are so unaware about the effects of mental health. And that's when I
Oh,
kind of start, the subject. And as I learned more about it, as I interact, calling just one of those days turns, and I think it just happened from there. And that's when the idea, an ecosystem for mental health, and setting up the platform. In fact, I'd also to choose the name, here. And I was like,
mm.
it's all about what your mind. And I think the most important thing
Right.
is to figure out how your mind, reacts and guides you to do things. More things, and
More of your own conversation.
yes, and also
Yeah.
how the mind really defines your
Mm.
physical health as well, not just your emotional and your psychological beings, but also your
Mm.
physical health, your social health, and all the other aspects, and the whole wheel of life. In fact, it is the mind that kind of
Mm.
um, drives that through.
Before you go ahead, because I think in between, let's bring some practicality also. The topic is so serious, it just gets
Yeah.
so tense and grave. So I would like to say, Gurrit, with what you said, people who are listening to us, remember the mind. Please see a monkey and see a blue monkey and see that blue monkey jumping. That's our mind. Now you got to figure out, do you want to pay attention to the blue jumping monkey or just give it a banana and go about with your day? The
Yeah.
job of the mind is to produce thoughts. It's a thought factory. वो वही करेगा because वो वही करता है. It's as simple
Huh.
as that. Stop bothering yourself with that. It's a blue jumping monkey. Feed it, let it do its job. You do your job.
Hmm. So what is this banana? So the blue monkey is going to do whatever they're going to do, right? And your monkey is going to dance on a different music than my monkey, right? And so would Gurreet's, right? But we all हमें सब कुछ अपना solution जो खुद निकालना होता है in a situation, right? That's exactly where the catch is, right? Like theoretically we all know we got to fend for ourselves, we have to take care of ourselves, it's our thought that matter. But knowing makes no difference, the execution does it, right? Like at that point of time, what are we able to do differentiates one from another, from my yesterday to my today, right? That's what sets us. So considering that both of you are in a space of giving right now, you're in a space of contributing and taking care of people, but you are pretty normal people yourselves, right? I'm sure वही दाल रोटी खाते होगे, वैसे ही सुबह की चाय पीते होगे, सब कुछ वही होगा आपकी लाइफ में, right? You're definitely not aliens coming from another planet. So what are the things that you had to change in your thought process to be the person that you're today, because you are also, आप भी उसी society का part हो जिसके हम सब हैं, you know. But अगर हम आपके clients हैं और आप हमारे therapist हो, you know, तो coming from the same society, आपको कुछ चीजें थी जो अपने thought process में बदलनी पड़ी, आपने बदली, आपने देखा और address किया, या you were always on the other side of the fence, which is also perfectly okay. But how was it?
Well, I think the upbringing, as I said, conditioning makes a lot of difference. So, one, I've been blessed that I have been brought up in a family that was very open to new things, wherein I was the decision maker from the word go. So, that independence and confidence, and then dealing with the consequences of the decision that I would take, were also mine. So, I think that responsibility kind of came in, but it came in with a very soft aspect of over love and kindness and doting and everything. It's like I've always been the apple of the eye. So that's been on the other side of the fence. Nonetheless, being the first spoiled Leo child of the family, I'm quite a handful till late. There were so many things that I had to change in myself, because I realized I am not entitled to anything.
Yeah.
My family and my friends always kept me up there, looking after my needs and my wants. But as I stepped out in the world, I realized I am not anybody special.
Yeah.
That was the first shock of my life. I was like, oh, I thought I was the special one, but I'm not the special one.
Oops.
So to be able to come to the platform of being a normal human being, rather than talking from a moral high ground, was the biggest lesson that I had to learn. I was an egoistic bitch. And I think it's been so humbling the last 15 plus years, close to 16 now, that I just cannot relate to that person anymore. At times I joke, if I got married at 22, oh my God, that guy would have been killed. I mean, I saved him by not marrying him. Seriously, bichara. Because I wasn't the person anybody could stay with. So that's been the biggest change, from being this high in the head girl to be this person. Well, I say that I am humble enough. That's not being humble to say that. That's the irony of language. And the second main change that I would say, Sonia, is patience. I am not somebody who could be equated with patience. And I think that's my biggest lesson as a soul. The third thing is non-judgment. I have a lot of people, from my closest family members to strangers, who come to me for work, whether it's mental health, energy health, whatever aspect it may be. And I have not seen them bat an eyelid before they open their mouths. And when I asked with them that it has to be something that you see in me, which perhaps I don't, and they say, because you listen and you don't judge.
Yeah, that's huge.
And I just laugh and say, because I have too many skeletons in my cupboard. Who am I to judge you? Tell me that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We all forget that.
So just that space. Exactly. So I am just this space. You show up the way you want to be. You express yourself the way you want to be. You're a dancer, come and dance. You're a cribber, come and crib. You're a manager, come and manage. Do what you want to do. Because when I let you do that, what you resist persists, what you accept changes. When I accept you as you are, that becomes a perfect environment for you to change, because we are a product of our environment. The age-old nature-nurture debate, we have a nature and then we are nurtured in the environment, and that makes us.
Absolutely.
So anybody who's interested in this field, I think patience, being non-judgmental, and knowing that you're not God's gift to mankind, and God's given you this gift to be of service to people, are essential ingredients to this profession.
No, this is, great that you articulate it, and great that you put it out there on the table for everybody. That's huge, Jess, because, whatever kind of a coach, therapist, doctor, somebody in the authority that one would have interacted with, what are the two instances? One is either we bond with them, we respect them, we go back to them again and again, and the other is that we resist and once and for all, right? And latter happens when there is judgment. When there is I know it all and you know nothing kind of an attitude that comes, then nobody, जब तक उसकी बिल्कुल हालत खराब नहीं होगी, उसके पास कोई और ऑप्शन नहीं होगा, मर रहा है इंसान, उसके अलावा किसी सिचुएशन में कोई भी किसी भी कैपेसिटी में ऐसे इंसान के साथ में नहीं रिलेट कर पाता है. तो आप जब थेरेपिस्ट हो, जब आपने जिम्मेदारी वही ली है कि आप मेरे को वो वाला पार्ट मेरी लाइफ का हेल्प कर सकते हो हील करने में, जो कि मैं खुद नहीं कर पा रही हूँ. So I mean, easier said than done. Like you conquered it for yourself, and you putting it out there for more of us to sort of identify you with that. That's huge. Doesn't come easily. It actually.
And also, the Indian community, Sonia,
Hmm.
is very Gurukul driven.
Hmm.
We are a very teacher student community.
True.
It does not take long for people, especially to see me in a sari and go, ma'am.
Huh. Say it.
It's very ingrained in us.
Yeah.
So now it comes that ma'am has never done a fault. She's all perfect. Her life is perfect, and she knows answers to everything. When I realized that, I realized I had to step down and become a human.
Yeah.
I had to tell them that I am making mistakes till date.
As much. Yes.
Because all of us are WIP. I am
Yeah.
not a manufactured product. Hey, here is just take it. I
Yeah.
am a work in progress. I am a WIP. And I will always be WIP. The moment I accept that and I tell my participants and students that, you know what, I am WIP, they go like, oh, she's a normal human being.
Normal. How?
I can talk even more.
Yeah. No, bang on, and exactly on the point that you said, that the environment and the ecosystem. Now, this is again something that I can't help but I relate it with the community that I work with, the artist. Most of the artists come back and say they did not have the support to be who they wanted to be from the family. It boils down to just that. वो सपोर्ट हो, उसके बाद की बात आती है कि वो किस तरह के बन पाए, what level did they achieve, not achieve, वो एक skill level और एक दूसरे ecosystem का role आ जाता है. But the first and the foremost, exactly to the topic that we're also talking about, the effect of childhood. So one effect of childhood is that I want fame, I want to be on the stage, I want to be clapped, I want to be appreciated, I want people to reach out to me, I want people to say different things about me, or I want to slip into different personas and different characters and really get vulnerable to that matter. That's one part of my childhood, my growing up. And the other part is when we do not get an ecosystem, and unfortunately that happens a lot in the space of art and culture, because it's such an unstructured space. पेरेंट्स की गलती नहीं है, पेरेंट्स इसलिए मना करते हैं क्योंकि उनको स्टेबिलिटी और स्ट्रक्चर नहीं दिखता, और हर एक जना अपने बच्चे के लिए वो ही चाहता है, और वो कुछ कर नहीं सकते क्योंकि उनका कोई नेटवर्क नहीं है, कुछ नहीं, वो इसलिए करते हैं. बट वी हैव टू फाइंड midways. We have to find other ways of being self-empowered and also keeping the child empowered to choose what they want to do, and sort of be happy or be okay with the paths that they choose and the results that they get. Even we all know that whoever wanted me to become a doctor did not know that I would have been, a failure as a doctor, right? So it doesn't guarantee anything. Yeah. Just.
At times, Gurrit, I'm sorry, I'm taking more time here, but as you're talking, there are a lot of instances coming to my mind. I always tell the parents that जो बच्चा आपके घर पैदा हुआ है ना, वो अपने सोल पर्पस के साथ पैदा हुआ है, उसको पता है उसको क्या बनना है. Our role is actually that of a gardener. Nothing beyond that. We get too emotional with kids.
Yeah.
So my choice, my role is to tell them the options that are available.
Yeah.
And go ahead and devise your own options if you think these are limited, because it's coming from my world. I cannot understand your world. Neuroscience says every 30 years the brain evolves. That's what is the generational gap is. It's 30 years. Now it's 5 years, but 30 years primarily because the brain evolves every 30 years. So what I think of, my parents tell me that, we don't even think of the things that you think of.
Yeah.
Because the brain is different and then the exposure is very different. Yeah. Now, they provided that fertile ground to be who I wanted to be. Guri's father till date provides that fertile ground to be who she wants to be.
Sure.
And hence she's able to say, you know what, I'm going to leave my job and do this now. I want to dedicate my life to this particular thing, this particular aspect. I remember
Yeah.
a young boy came to me, 21, 22, and said, you know what, he's a musician. And he says, you know, his parents are saying, why don't you get married? I said, amazing, 21, 22, you want to marry? Perfect, great idea. What's next? He says, my parents are saying, ये तो ठीक है, पर काम क्या करेगा? He says, ये मेरा काम है. नहीं नहीं, ये तो ठीक है, पर काम क्या करेगा?
Yeah.
I get the pain point of the parents,
Yeah.
but it's the same thing. That story of you've heard that story, right? The fisherman story, wherein a fisherman is chilling at the Goa beach, and this director of a highly managed corporate goes there and is chilling there and asking the fisherman, "Hey, so what do you do?" He says, "You know, I just do fishing." "When do you do that?" "I do it in the morning and in the evening." "What do you do all day long?" He says, "No, just enjoy my beer, sit on the beach." He says, "No, you must go to Gurgaon and work." He says, "Then what will happen?" "You will see the world." "Then what will happen?" "You will earn a lot of money." "Oh, then what will happen?" "You'll have a fancy mansion." "Then what will happen?" "Then you can go fishing." वही तो कर रहा हूँ।
पहले से वही तो कर रहा हूँ भाई.
Conditioning ऐसी है, ये कर लो.
Yeah.
और फिर I overheard a conversation of a couple the table next to mine the other day saying that, you know, माँ बाप ने कहा था बेटा 12वीं बस पास कर लो फिर ठीक है,
हाँ.
तुम ना नौकरी ले लो फिर ठीक
फिर
है,
ठीक है.
शादी कर लो फिर ठीक है, पहला बच्चा कर लो फिर ठीक है, दूसरा कर लो फिर ठीक है. इसे सब कर लिया यार, समझ ही नहीं आया हो क्या रहा है, अभी भी कुछ ठीक नहीं हुआ है. It's the
Yeah.
carrot and donkey. Keep showing the carrot and the donkey keeps moving forward. And suddenly what happens earlier at 45 is now happening at 23 when the
True.
child goes, dude, what the hell am I doing in my life?
Yeah.
That is midlife crisis. It doesn't happen at 45 anymore. It happens at 22 now.
And since they don't have the environment and they're not self-equipped to take care of all of that situation, which is why they or us are in a crisis, which wasn't so evident earlier, which is what we're talking about in the realm of topic today. So yeah, so Gurrit, what about you? What challenges or changes did you go through to become who you are today?
As a child, I was just a very rebellious child. I just wanted to know too much about everything. With nobody wanted to answer my question. It led me to do a lot of things. Like my kids, in fact, tell me that you should be thankful that we haven't taken after you. So I was just sheer lucky
So
that
sweet of them.
I every time came out of those problems unscathed. And that's what you set me thinking that, you know, there are things that a child understand and needs to know and needs a space for. And it's very important to kind of create that space. I grew. Of course, you know, we all go through ups and downs in life. And then I started to understand myself better and my parents' perspectives better. And I think looking at happening around me, we came from a background where, you know, you were loved. Fine. We had strict parents, but you were very loved.
Yeah.
Even if a few questions weren't answered as to what finger into the plug, you know,
Yeah.
over and over again is fine. But when I looked at people around me, especially when I went to boarding school after my 12th standard for my undergrad, and I looked at my first letter to my father was, I wish he would put me in Tehran to send me so that I could have gone there because I hated here. And there I had roommates who just did not want to go home. And they were like, this is independence for us. And that set me thinking, oh my God, what kind of a background do they come from?
Right.
And then corporate life and looking at meeting people from different walks of life with different perspectives, backgrounds. I think it taught me that. It taught me not to be judgmental, and it taught me to be respectful. And as I grew in my career, I think these became pure. No job is bad or good. You know, everyone needs to be recognized, heard, and non-judgmental. I think that is
Beautiful.
what we all become in our future life. Of course, this has also taught a lot because I was a very naughty person. But I think these were the key things that I started honing in when I types of teams, especially going out of my own comfort areas or comfort geographies, going into different cultures and working with different. I think
Wow.
it was a grounding experience. I also saw a thread that irrespective of part of the world or whichever part, human beings, the emotions remain the same. Your expressions of them could be
Absolutely.
different.
Yeah.
But at the core, you're still a human being. You need caring, you to be nurtured.
Same. Yeah. Yeah.
And that defines the kind of person you become. And all the other things that earlier, become slightly more disciplined myself on not, I think one of the biggest changes that I would have brought in appreciative of what I have as what I did not have. When I look at people,
Wow.
and of course,
Wow. Yeah.
being non-judgmental, I think, like just said, we all have to be. We're all a work
Yeah.
in progress. We
Right.
all. I think one is
That's nirvana.
that one. You carry this load, and then you suddenly realize why the hell
Yeah.
am I carrying
Absolutely.
all that load in my head?
हाँ.
हूँ या
मतलब
करती हूँ. What
सोच
difference
ही
does
क्या
it
रहे हो?
exactly? But
Exactly.
to Just's
Yeah.
point, I was laughing when you were relating that instance about kids who are not given that space with something quite the opposite, because I firmly believe that children have to find their own path, and maybe I went too on the other side. One fine day, my daughter turns around and hounding her. You gotta tell me so I can accordingly. She turns around and she tells me, "What kind of a parent are you? That you haven't even had dreams of what your child wants to become." It would have been so
Oh.
easy for me. The thing
Your
also is that
fault.
it needs to be
Your fault.
a balance.
Yeah.
To be a balance. Yes, children, when we were growing options,
Yeah.
be conscious
Yeah.
of opening up.
Yeah.
Today's kids are bombarded with a lot of options.
Options. Yeah.
And that there is a lot of peer pressure to perform. Couple that with parents' expectations, I think it becomes a very difficult to them.
To work
When
around.
kids like that kind of
Yeah.
move out, out of their homes into careers, into leading their uh, times you see those kids living with pressures, so much of pressures.
Yeah.
Like worked with, one has had to mentor kids to see through that, okay, not everything is your responsibility.
Totally.
But
Yeah.
having said that, I think that key balance is very, very important to maintain. I think too liberal and too strict,
Neither works.
neither works,
True.
because you don't want a child who's absolutely not anchored growing into an adult. And I'm sure Just can tell us
Yeah.
more about stories about on because she deals with out. So I
Yeah.
think that's very, very important.
Sure. So just
So
while you
that
take us through those stories, just in the interest of time also, while you take us through these stories, also help us understand how do I identify for myself, for my child, for my near and dear ones, for my team, for my family, that what is our mental health level? How do I gauge it? How do I gauge that I'm okay, I'm all right, what I'm feeling is normal, or how do I feel or understand that I should take help right now? Because if I go and ask somebody else, I don't think it's the best thing to say. Like if I go to somebody and say, do you think I'm depressed, I don't think that the version that will come there from there would be something that I should take it up. But what should I do? And this is like, again, from the several people that you meet day in and out. Some must have walked in by their choice, some might have been brought in by somebody, some might have come early on, some might have come pretty late in the day, right? So help for all of us who have not yet identified, you know before it gets to a crisis, before it gets to a point where maybe it's too late. Help us understand, how do I calculate when am I in what level or intensity of my mental health, please?
When you say that, it reminds me of that phrase which says, kill the monster while it is young.
Hmm.
Because the monster is manageable, right? If the
Yeah.
monster grows, overpowers you. So, first of all, I want to address it from the basics and say, what is mental health?
Hmm.
Because the criteria that the DSM would offer or your environment would offer would be different. Like Gurrit spoke about being a rebellious child,
Hmm.
being a naughty teenager. She would have a different set of criteria for being mentally healthy than
Yeah.
somebody who's overly studious.
Right.
Now, I think what is important here is to know that mental health is awareness of where I am right now.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to see where is the present, that is mental health.
Hmm.
That awareness will take me to the next step. Do I even need therapy? Do I even need to reach out to people? Can you believe if I say that out of 10 people who reach me, I turn away 4 people in India saying that you don't need a therapist?
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So, with that, you have to be careful of awareness. Once you're aware, you know what do you want to do. The second thing here is that what are we looking for out of that?
Hmm.
Which means that can we, the moment, it's like a typical example, let's say a teenager or a grown up goes through breakup, comes back home, locks himself herself in a room, darkens the room, starts to listen to Mohammed Rafi or any sad songs, doesn't want to eat, doesn't want to drink, doesn't see sunshine. We know how important are these things. When you go to a doctor saying, I think I have something wrong with me, all your doctor says is D3 and B12 are missing. Get onto the supplement.
Yeah.
So, I, and Sonia, the basics are ignored.
Hmm.
If you're getting enough sunshine, if you're getting enough nutrition, if you're hydrated enough, that takes care of 60% of the problems. And if you're exercising, that takes care of 80% of the problems.
Hmm.
So when that point happens, when you think you're breaking down, at that point, assembling yourself back or asking for help, even from a parent or from a friend or professional help, is important. Going, once you're a part of the spiral, you just go down
Hmm.
and you don't even know when you hit the rock bottom. So that bit is also important. The third thing, and a little difficult but absolutely achievable, is what I call as the internal GPS.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at an internal marker of how do I feel. There are people who are melancholic by nature.
Right.
There are people who are joyous by nature. That
Yeah.
beautiful movie that psychologists group got together and told the director and he made was Inside Out. Like
Hmm.
how we have those basic emotions inside of us. But
Yeah.
the few of us have joy as very strong. Few of us
Yeah.
have anger as very strong. So that's my status quo.
Yeah.
Now, when I begin to move out of that status quo and stay too much there, outside of what I call my normal, is when I know that there is a red signal somewhere.
Hmm.
It's a red button being hit. I need to address that. So,
Yeah.
first of all, defining what is normalcy for me,
Hmm.
which is an internal check with that. Also, looking at what is my motivation of doing stuff. Most of the people lack motivation. I am being very honest here. We
Hmm.
are inspired to do something, but
Yeah.
as you said a while ago, execution doesn't happen normal because we are not motivated on daily basis.
Yeah.
If you have an internal sense of drive that
Hmm.
makes you move forward every single day of your life, you want to get up and go ahead and do stuff.
Hmm.
At least, let's say 250 days out of 365 days in a year, you're absolutely fine. But if you see constantly that you're getting into that zone of darkness, wherein you are somebody who meets people but doesn't want to meet people right now, you are the opposite of what you used to be. You see that cynicism and resignation is setting in your system. You know it's alarming and you need help. If you begin to see more negativity than positivity, unless it's a part of your nature, there are few people who are fundamentally negative.
Sure.
By the way, there is a science behind why that is. But if you think you are overly on the other side of the spectrum, it's alarming. It's a good idea to look for help.
Beautiful. I
I
don't
would,
think it could have been summarized better. Yes,
I
please.
would just,
Yeah.
nothing to add, but just as a this thing to all the viewers, it's okay to ask for help. Each one of us at any at does hit a low where support. You don't
Yeah.
necessarily wrong therapy, but just a few
Yeah.
conversations with a psychologist can do wonders.
Yeah.
Kind of get for a short while and walking those two steps where you're feeling distressed, where you're not feeling okay. When you're, it
Yeah.
does not of mental or the various things that people end up health.
Yeah.
It is when you feel stressed, just ask for help. There is
Just ask for help.
no, it doesn't mean that you're incapacitated. It's just, it just
नहीं बिल्कुल सही है बट वो वही बात है ना कि जैसे पहले जैसे आप लोगों ने शुरू में बोला कि जब हम दूसरे सोसाइटी और सिस्टम में रहते थे ना तो बात करने के लिए मौका नहीं ढूंढना पड़ता था आसपास ही इतने लोग होते थे कि अगर आप थोड़ी देर चुप बैठ जाते थे तो कोई चुप ही नहीं बैठने देता था क्या हुआ क्या हुआ क्या हुआ क्या हुआ so you had more occurrences to talk rather than to hide, right? एंड अभी जो हमारा जो स्ट्रक्चर इवॉल्व होता जा रहा है, न्यूक्लियर फैमिलीज हो रही है, छोटे छोटे हम काफी टाइम अलग अलग सब लोग अलग अलग बिताते हैं, and different aspirations. The generation gap is becoming wider and wider, from what our parents did. We have nothing similar with them, and similarly with our children. All of that is obviously leaving that gap जो आप बोल रहे हो कि बात कर लेना चाहिए, but किससे बात किससे करें, लाइक हमारी सोसाइटी में तो हम ये भी देख सकते हैं कि अगर आप बात करने जाओ किसी से तो वो दो बातें ज्ञान की दे देगा, जो कि एक्चुअली आई मीन दैट इज व्हाट आई वाज कमिंग टू, दैट्स व्हाट आई वाज इनिशियली सेइंग कि अगर आप जाओ भी किसी को और बोलो कि मुझे ये हो रहा है, लाइक देयर इज अ वेरी लॉन्ग शॉट दैट मेनी पीपल मेक एट इट. हाँ हाँ इसमें क्या है, इसमें क्या हो गया, ये क्या है, इसमें क्या प्रॉब्लम है, ये ऐसे कर लो. But we're not asking for solution, because solution तो हमें खुद ही को ढूंढना है. It's a very different thing about lending an ear or reaching out for a professional support. वो बहुत अलग चीज है. So yeah, I mean that's fine. I mean nothing to take away from the society. We are all a product of the same society. We are the ones which make it. But I think हम जो कोशिश कर रहे हैं इस वक्त वो ये कि अपने आसपास जो है उसको देख ले, पहले देख ले, अवेयर हो जाए और एक्सेप्ट कर ले, इंस्टेड ऑफ रेजिस्टिंग इट कि हाँ हम यहाँ पे हैं, ऐसा होता है हमारे आसपास. नाउ लाइक व्हाट जस्ट सेड कि अब उसके बाद आइडेंटिफाई कर लो कि आप और मैं, क्या हमारा स्टेटस को सेम है, am I the same person as I was last month, is there a difference, and if that be so, then reach out, and we're going to come out to who to reach out, when to reach out, because in my life I know so many people who don't have an answer to that, किससे बात करें, कैसे बात करें. So I'm going to come to that, but we have an audience question. Can we just have that flash in, please? I'm sorry I missed that earlier. So Nelson is asking, what do you believe is the most important cause for the rampant anxiety in the contemporary world? Beautiful question. Most important cause for anxiety.
Well, Nelson, you're asking the contemporary world. The contemporary world is a world of high uncertainty. The monkey mind, the blue jumping monkey, wants to control the outcome, wants to control the future. The biggest fear that we have as human beings is the fear of the unknown. And anxiety, if you break it down in the medical terms, anxiety is fear of the future. And future right now is so volatile, like we talk about, we living in the VUCA world. it is so volatile. I have no idea what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
And this is the single most reason why anxiety is at an all-time high. There is nothing that I am able to control, whether it's my life, whether it's my profession, whether it's my health. There is limited influence that I have in areas of my life. And I have no idea how the future is going to turn out to be. So my mind is going absolutely bonkers. If we look at the neuroscience angle, the left and the right hemisphere theory, by the way, is debunked. It doesn't exist anymore. But for simplicity, I will just say that if there is overactivity in the left hemisphere and underactivity in the right hemisphere, which means if we become too logical and less creative, anxiety is a natural product of that.
Beautiful.
So you guys are good and safe. The filmmakers, you guys are creative. You are taken care of. You don't have a collar, otherwise you've just done
Yeah, no, I'll manage a collar. Don't worry, I'll pull it out from anywhere. Occasions like these are rare. Yeah, but the filmmakers have the other side, the left side on the downhill. You know, the creativity and the passion and a need to stand up and a need to speak is so high that the logics go. You know, as the so-called practicalities of life take a dip. You know, so I mean that's the other thing. I mean, Nelson, exactly what you're saying for the contemporary world now. This is the contemporary world that we're living in, and the cause is really what we have asked for. We didn't want to be agriculturists. You know, we didn't want to be in the joint families. We wanted to have a lot more space. You know, we wanted to have a lot more you know, a lot more to ourselves out of the 365 days. So here we have it now. You know, now it's going to be a while before we get used to this. It's a pretty new phenomena for all of us in the human evolution and our history as human beings, where we come from. So everything is insecure right now. Nobody has an answer to really anything. You know, like I remember what just said, that Gurrit has a father holding, you know, her spine right back. How many of the people can say that? You know, and how many of the parents can still say that? And we're not talking stressful stuff, but let's look around, and that's what it is. You know, like we used to talk about America and say the children are out there on their own in their teenage, and we used to wonder why. Well, it's happening here, it's happening to us, it's happening around us. You know, so nothing is alien, and it's right here. But security, I guess, human beings are such suckers for security that, you know, before we created security for anybody else, we want it for ourselves. You know, and security to bahut hi bada myth hai. You know, किस चीज से
And
security.
that comes with predictability, right? Why do we need security? Because we can predict stuff.
Yeah.
Now we cannot predict, so the mind does not know what is happening.
Yeah, and to top it all, ये algorithms और engines ने और predictability का जिम्मेदारी उठा ली है. And the algorithms tell us कि हम बता देंगे तुम्हें तुम्हारा future क्या है. So बस हो गया फिर. Great. So we were on a very important topic where we agree that if there is an imbalance, if I feel slightly different from who I know I am, then I must reach out. You know, but किसको reach out करूँ? कैसे? बिकॉज मेरी ग्रोइंग अप में साइकोलॉजिस्ट नाम सुना था मैंने, यू नो, जो कि सुनने के साथ में ही आई वाज टोल्ड डोंट गो देयर. यू नो, इट्स अ टैबू. लाइक इफ यू गो टू अ साइकोलॉजिस्ट, मतलब तुम पागल हो. यू नो, और पागल हो का बहुत ही अलग वर्ल्ड है. यू नो, यू आर आइसोलेटेड फ्रॉम मोमेंट वन, right? So with this much around, which is heavy stuff, honestly, I don't have the guts to go to a psychologist. You know, तो कहाँ जाऊँ when I feel that imbalance?
So since in the pandemic, the telemedicine, digital health was opened up, a lot of psychologists have gone up. A lot of people have started actually idea of going and looking for a psychologist as compared to the yesteryears, because the stigma of being a psychiatrist or a counselor's or a psychologist's office was taken away. You can sit in the safety of your home and reach out. So that's one aspect that has actually seen has given a quantum boost to people's opening up to this concept. Of course, the outcome and the need for opening up are hugely driven by the pandemic, where things became, went right out of our hands, and
Yeah.
I think it just turned everything topsy turvy. I mean, what we
Yeah.
talk about that, but it is so. Having said that, when we look for psychologists, clinical psychologists, or psychiatrists, it's important to understand does what and why we are reaching out to people. Today, there
Hmm.
are a lot of people who claim to be, professionals in this field without the
Uh-huh.
relevant qualifications or the experience. Just will tell you how many years of
Hmm.
study has gone into it. Just other than adding it up to the experience and then getting to be able to provide good therapy, 7-8 years minimum, only in the study side.
Right.
So
Yeah,
it's very
absolutely.
important. And I can tell you
Yeah.
that, I, as a healthcare professional, also did not know till the time I got into this field, that there is a super speciality in psychology as well. Different
Hmm.
people are qualified for different things.
Hmm.
So
Right.
I think being
It's
in
not
that
a blanket.
is very
It's
important.
not just a blanket of
Absolutely.
just going to a psychologist.
Yes, it's very, very
Hmm.
important to understand the credentials of the person, the qualifications, and experience teaches a lot.
Right.
And go running off to after per se. For mental health,
Hmm.
it's not. It is going to drive your whole being. Don't just get swayed by
Yeah.
different schemes that come out. Platforms
Yeah.
like Mind My Mind. In fact, when we set up Mind My Mind, we were very, very clear that we have to have a very good and solid credentialing for our platform of who joins the platform to ensure that people get the right kind of a service for the issue that they are looking for. Important to understand.
You mean everybody's verified? You mean
Everybody's
everybody's
verified.
verified
Yes,
there?
yes. We have a background verification
Wow.
and a credentialing system, which
Uh-huh.
verifies, not only the qualifications, the certifications, the registrations, as well as we look at the experience, and we reach out to people to understand the kind of work that onboard any or psychiatrist or a counselor. That's very, very
Oh,
critical.
beautiful.
That's very, very critical.
Yeah, that's half
Because
of the stress taken away.
so I can just tell you that I have actually said no,
Hmm, I can imagine.
allowing them
Yeah.
to register as mental health professionals than saying yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I
I
can
think
imagine.
it's very
True.
important to understand quackery in this field as well. It's very,
Hmm.
very
Hmm.
important to understand that counseling, our traditional mode of counseling meant कि कोई बड़ा बूढ़ा
Yeah, like
counseling
a
करना,
mom in a
whereas
pop store.
a
Yeah.
structured counseling with somebody who has qualified in the subject and has spent years mastering it
Hmm.
is very
Hmm.
different. Is very, very different. I'm sure that when I went through counseling once for an issue that I was facing, even I wasn't aware. But as I delved
Hmm.
deeper, is when I realized,
More.
the value out uh, of your own self, your own value come out when you actually right professional for the right for the issue that you have. Yes,
Sure.
would you like to
So,
add
with
something?
all the due respect to, yeah, I have a question for Jess, and just please add what you're saying to that as much. With all due respect to anybody, all of us who visit a mental health professional, um, just to get more real into the subject, because it's about you and it's about me and it's about our loved ones. Just help us with some of the kind of problems that people come to you for. Are these alien problems or are these what? I would also be knowing of.
Well, humanity shares a common bond of pleasure and pain.
True.
And irrespective of gender, age, race, origin, it's all the same. So the problems that humanity brings in is not widely different. That is one of the issues in mental health, that people seem to think that I'm the only one suffering and nobody will understand.
Yeah.
Well, the point is, I tell most of my coaches that I don't expect me to understand your misery, because if I cry with you, I will not be able to help you.
Fair point.
So you wouldn't want me to understand that.
Hmm.
Just helping you facilitate through what is happening so that you are equipped to handle that is what my role is.
True.
I am not an allopathic doctor that gives a set of medicines and you become fine. I am an Ayurvedic doctor. I tell you from the core what needs to be done so that you change. It's a lifestyle change. It doesn't work in isolation. So to answer that question, and I want to just bring in few things that Gurrit also said, if there is time, let me know.
Sure.
But the kind of issues that come with anxiety, panic attacks, seizure, epilepsy, physical problems that do not have a neurological base or a physical base, the
Okay.
trauma of the childhood, like suddenly they can see how their childhood trauma is now showing up in their life. Parents meant very well for them while they were bringing them up, but how they perceived it to be is a threat. So the nervous system is forever in the fight, flight, or freeze mode.
So,
The
what do people tell you when
escapism.
they come to you? That, Jess, this is what's happening to me. What do they say?
Well, I'm not able to sleep.
Hmm.
I have these flashbacks of my childhood coming, wherein my father is the monster and he's trying to kill me. I don't know what's happening. I've had a decent childhood. My father's been nice and kind, but I don't know, something is wrong somewhere. So they are not able to pinpoint what it is, few cases, but they know something is wrong. And the other side of it is, I was in the hospital 2 days ago. There was a huge panic attack that came to me. I thought I was sinking. It was like a heart attack, and I knew I would die. I'm here. I need your help. I have been abused 3 times in my life. I'm all of 21, but the 3 times abuse that happened, one is from a blood relationship, one was from a boyfriend, and one was from this recent solo trip that I took. I have no idea what's happening now. My entire world is coming down. So these are the kind of cases that actually come through. And then there are people who come in and say, I'm not able to focus and concentrate, and I have something very important to do. I have a lot of starts in my projects. I'm not able to take them to completion. Something stops me. I've also worked with few players of the national cricket team, and they are ace players, right? That's why they represent the country. But what's happening there is when they go out of the form, what happens in their setup, which is beautifully portrayed in a lot of movies as well. That as a sports person, you're expected to perform, and perform. But the moment that out of form happens, remember, the person is still the same person with the skills, but the state of mind is not the same. So what do we do at that point in time to bring them back? I can handle everything, but when this happens, I don't know what to do. Or a typical child question coming from an adult. Well, am I right in doing that? Is it the right thing to do? That question of morality and that question of what's the right and the wrong definitely comes up pretty often.
I can see myself in half of them.
All of us can.
Well, again, humanity, we share a common thread of pain and pleasure.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to get real because this is exactly what my personal question has been, that what is so big to go for a consultation and what is normal to not inflate it too much and make a big deal out of it.
Well, I would talk about the timeline. You remember Jab We Met?
Hmm.
A favorite of a lot of people. In
Yeah.
that movie, Shahid Kapoor says a line to Kareena. I actually quote that to a lot of participants of mine. That ye 9 mahine tumhe puri zindagi mein pata bhi nahi chale. अगर वो कल मैटर नहीं करती चीज, परसों मैटर नहीं करती है, 4 साल बाद मैटर नहीं करती है, आज उसका स्ट्रेस मत लो. Life is so
Hmm.
beautiful, it will solve itself out in the process of itself. Unless it's a situation of life and death, there is no need to panic. जब तक जिंदगी है तब तक सब मैनेज कर लोगे. We are
Yeah.
so resilient as beings. We are the products of war. Your
Yeah.
and my parents and grandparents have been in the war.
Yeah.
That is the DNA that we carry. We are extremely resilient.
Hmm.
So we got to know that bit, that do I need somebody to just listen to me?
Hmm.
Do I need an advice right now? Do I need skills at the moment?
Hmm.
Do I need talk therapy? Or do I need tools to be able to get over it?
Hmm.
This bit of clarity, well, actually, is the role of the mental health professionals to provide.
Hmm.
What do I really need at this point in time? What is my way of learning? I know my way of learning is by doing stuff. I know music makes me feel better. So I would do stuff, look at the problem in the face of it and solve it. And at times when I don't want to solve it right now because the elephant is too big at the moment, I will go and listen to some music and come back to it when I feel equipped, resourced, and recharged. That's my modus operandi. What is yours? So solve your problems looking at how you've solved other problems. Reach out to people before reaching out to mental health professionals. I would say reach out to your friends and see what's happening there. If you're
Hmm.
looking for a year to listen to, and then you have to figure out, what do I really want? I have a lot of people who come to me and say, once this real cute 21-year-old came and she was narrating her own incident, her entire incident, and as Gurrit was saying, this top psychiatrist is curing her of whatever it is labeled as, which is topic of another day, the labeling bit. And at the end
Yeah.
of the conversation, which is 20 minutes, I tell her, I said, you know what, darling, you don't need therapy. You just need relationship building skills, because you don't want to be a daughter-in-law, you just want to be a wife. You just need skills to manage relationships. Please don't categorize yourself as this label and be on medication for the rest of your life. You don't need that. But somebody needs to listen to that and decipher that for that child. And
Yeah.
I would call an 80-year-old as well and a 21-year-old child as well.
Absolutely. You're well said. Yeah, Gurrit, please.
In fact, there are a lot of instances today that actually ending up prescriptions without even looking at the psycho emotional side of psychology. And
Hmm.
in fact, we've had many people come through our platform who were on medications, and our psychologists have actually taken them off medications because they were not required.
Hmm.
It was exactly like a bit of hand holding and helping them develop certain type of skills, which was
Yeah.
important. I think the not just therapy, the
Yeah.
need of the is also to build mental resilience. And mental resilience
Right.
is simply building up skills which help you cope with life
Yeah.
better. There are different parts of life, not just about physical, just about it. You have to look at life cycle and all the wheel balanced life, and all that a good psychologist and a good counselors help you identify and look at skill, and to figure out. I think that is one of another very important aspect, which also means
Hmm.
that it doesn't mean that you're feeling ill, or you're feeling out, that you have to go to
Yeah.
someone.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
realization that I this to be more productive, to be a more productive being in all
Hmm.
aspects of life, which is important. And
Yeah.
that's what means living healthy. Living healthy is not just eating healthy or
And I
exercise.
guess that's what you're doing with my minds. That's
Absolutely.
I mean, in an earlier conversation, I would quote here, when I was talking to Gurrit earlier, and I was trying to understand the platform. That's just so important that I can't emphasize enough. And it's not just in mental health, but like what has Practo done? It's guided us to who we can go to if we need this kind of a help. That was the first fundamental question. But then somebody has to also do it responsibly. Somebody has to also, like I was saying, that how do I know if I'm going to the right person in the first place? And when I am vulnerable myself, or a near and dear one is vulnerable, then everybody is not going to be the right fit, but who it is. So I was trying to think when just was saying that, so is it only a coach, is it only a therapist that I need to go to? But probably not. There are levels, there are different skills that different people follow, and I as a layperson wouldn't know of it. Like I said, I've grown up in an era where psychologists bolte the bas khali, ab uske baad ka mujhe kuch nahi pata ki what are the other elements that are around with that. But I guess that's an incredible work, Guri, that you are doing with Mind My Mind, to structure it all together in one place, and taking responsibility of it, that the people on it can be trusted. Now, if I am anyways harassed, or if I'm anyways in a low time, however temporary it is, that's exactly what I need. I just need a place where I can trust and I can go and heal myself. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, in a country like India, where we have fake registrations, and we have fake reviews, and I guess not just India, it's like a world over thing, in whatever different capacities. But for somebody to stand on the other side and say, okay, hold on, I'll take responsibility of that, and will do that, is huge. And really, like, the last 1.5 hour that we've just spent, uh, understanding that it's really so deep, and it's really you and me and all of us. For you to even begin building this platform, it might take a few months and years to really do that, but please don't drop it, don't leave it.
Likewise, Sonia, I think bringing in the themes that you have, I think all of them, whether you look at mental health as one aspect, but even gender, even migration, the
Migration.
other
Yeah.
themes, I think is bringing to light the reality of life.
Yeah.
That
True.
this is, uh, I think this is the best awareness, like Just was saying earlier, to people, to help them understand that there is help. You're not. It's also not an isolated problem. Who doesn't
Yeah.
get stressed?
Yeah.
Us do. It's okay
Yeah.
to just take a helping hand at some point. And if you do have a problem, or in fact, if you ignore these small stresses in life, they add up to being the big elephant in your life. Why
The big elephant in the room.
alone?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there is help
Yeah.
available. I think lovely
Even for
messages.
everything, like, like a gender, like a gender or a migration, I think, or a passion or education, we all are on one side or the other of the topics. Like, either I feel a gender bias, or I never felt one. Either I have migrated, or I have my neighbors migrating, or I want to migrate and I can't, or I am at the fag end, or the impact of a migration. Either ways, either I'm passionate or I'm lacking passion. Either I strive for education, or I strive for not being educated, or any other 1 million other permutations, combinations of that. But these are, and like you beautifully said, both of you, that it's the stresses come from all these chota chota things. It's not from any, a big trauma, a big injury is another something. It's once in many lifetimes, maybe, hopefully it happens to anybody, but these chota chota things is what our life day in and out is. And like, agar hum usko draw karke dekhe, to finally it's a mental health condition that all of that impacts is what our heart and our mind, right? So
Right.
yeah, thanks for bringing it out. That's what we're trying to do even at Malhar. We're not there to create an Oscar or a Sundance, or like a film festival, but we're out there to just bring out stories. And how do we bring out stories? When people create them. How do we get people to create them? When we create a structure for them. And so Malhar is just trying to be that structure where topics that matter to you and me are encouraged to be created, and then we watch, and we sit and watch, and we learn, and we grow, and we become more informed, more aware of our own people around. And then some of us may choose to work on it, may choose to impact it deeply. Some of us may just be more informed citizens, and that's as great and as fine. Yeah. So it's a lot of work to be done, but I do hope,
Indeed.
labels is another topic, just like what you mentioned. We have to come back to it again, because I have been labeled enough, you've been labeled enough, Gurrit has been labeled enough, our audiences have been labeled enough, and we need to see what's a good label and what's not a good label, and how do we deal with labels. We have to come back to it another day for sure, and I promise I will. And there are many more, but audience, for the sake of time, I know this is exactly a topic that we can go on and on, and the reason we're not getting tired about it is because it's just so you and me. But this session was intended to to begin to just begin a conversation of relating to the world of mental health, to finding ourselves in it, not to disconnect, not to overemphasize, and just find our sweet spot within this, and to know what do we have to do if there is a situation where we need support. So what we hope, the three of us here and our entire team, we really hope we were able to make a difference there at that information level. However, having said that, our experts are not going anywhere. You know how the experts at Foreground Forum are; they always become family. So that's how Jess and Gurrit are. They're going to be approachable. Jess and Gurrit, please tell us, how do, apart from mindmymind.com, but how does anybody reach you directly if there is a situation? What are the ways?
I think both of us are apart from Mind My Mind
Okay.
also. Mind My Mind also
Sure.
has social media handles, and we both have social media handles. So just please reach out, DM.
Perfect. That's beautiful. So they are there by the individual capacities, and they're there on mindmymind.com. Mind My Mind has a double I, so be careful of that on both the versions of Mind. And that's how it is. That's just what it is. Reach out, right? And the recording, if you're a member of Matchma Talent, the recording of this session will always be available for you. It will be shared with you, of course, like always. But if you miss it, just ask. We will be more than happy to reshare. And once you get it, don't be greedy. Share it further. Don't keep it to yourself. It matters to everybody. Somebody who couldn't make it to this is as worthy of hearing this out as you and I did. So please share it as much as you can, because it is our environment that needs to be secure for us to have a ठंडी सांस. अकेले नहीं ले सकते. सबको सब साथ में सांस अच्छी लेंगे तो सब सब अच्छे रहेंगे. So with that note, thank you, Jas. Thank you, Gurrit. Really very informative, very simple. The way you classified and you broke down each aspect uh, makes it easy. Makes it very easy to do the next level of conversation on it. And I hope you're going to be on Malhaar and you're going to watch all the films that our filmmakers have put in really a lot of research putting it together. And so we will look forward.
Really, really look forward to that. And I think films are the thread that weaves the society together. What about the past, present, and a potential future that we have the ability to live in? So what you are doing is absolutely amazing, and I'm looking forward to the films. So thank you so much for having both of us here.
सुन रहे हो
As you
सारे
said,
filmmakers? This was for you, not for me. I didn't make one. You all have made it. So 3 cheers to all the filmmakers. Whether your film is shortlisted or not, that's another criteria.
yes,
That doesn't matter. You made one. You did your research. You put it together.
And you're sending out
I think
messages through
expression
your
is
film.
the real success.
You're sending out very
Yes.
key messages through the films. I think that's one
Yes.
of the best to do that. So I think that's again a very noble thing.
And sharing yourself.
Yes.
I mean, we are so vulnerable in sharing our own experiences. We keep everything so
Voicing.
close to our heart. Yeah.
Voicing the inner voices, I think, is very important.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's what
Thank
I'm
you,
saying.
Sonia. I think-
Expression is the success. The real winner is expression. If you're able to
Yes.
express yourself,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we are having a difficulty, all the filmmakers who will hear this out, please know, I know you'll have a smile there, but yes, you must smile. The jury is having a tough time. The only question that they ask us is, isko reject kis basis pe kare, not like isko any particular, but how do we even, because we've had 1,000+ films, all of you have made so much, put in so much time, and you put in, we have to bring it down to a limit where it's really the best of the best stuff, so that you get a good feedback for the next film that you make, and for the audience to have worth the time. But the jury is like, how do we remove some from that, because each has a strength. So amazing. We just love this space of self-expression and such great cinema coming in. Thank you, Jess. I promise you there'll be less mental health issues in the future.
I'm sure about that. We are building a
Sonia.
good. Yep. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Sonia, for
Thank
doing
you.
service, I think, to everyone. Thank you.
It's a gang. I am just a face here, but there's a whole gang behind me, the invisible masters. So yeah, it's a beautiful
But at
team,
least
and we're
you
all
were
at
there.
it together.
You were there to put it together. So that's the key thing.
Thank you. Thank you. So
Thank you.
everybody, we look forward to your feedback. Gurrit and Just, like I said, are right here. Please reach out to them whenever you want. MIINDMYMIIND.com. Remember it today, tomorrow, whenever. Will be available. Share it wide. Go through it again and again as much as you like. It's all yours. And till then, we connect back again on the next session of Foreground Forum, which will be as deep, as real, and as simple as this one, I promise. So stay tuned, keep in touch, and do get in your tickets for Malhaar. See you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you, Chus.
Bye.
Thank you, Gurrit.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
Take care. Bye.